It's happening. Remember when I told you guys that things was going to start popping up across the U.S.? Well, we're seeing it now. This here is an Amazon Sprinter van that exploded in Washington, D.C. All right, it was parked next to a building, and all of a sudden it just went up in flames. As you guys can see, here's all the flames. Now, remember when I told you guys that stuff was going to start popping up with all these sleeper cells, and then we're going to start seeing more things? Well, that's not the only thing that happened today. Let's flip the page. In Idaho today, there was a standoff, all right? There was an active shooter. This guy started a fire, and firefighters were called out, and as soon as firefighters arrived, he started gunning them down one by one, all right? After that, authorities were called, the police came, and there was a shootout with the police as well. Now, they don't want to say who this person was, but let me tell you, this was a trained man, all right? He was in the bushes, and he was snipering them down one by one. Now, I don't think that it's a coincidence that the two things popped off like this on the same day. I do not think that it's a coincidence. We talked about the sleeper cells. We talked about things that was going to start happening throughout the weeks. And let me tell you, I think things are just heating up.
Alligator Alcatraz is set to open on Monday at the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport, a remote airstrip deep in the Florida Everglades. Politicians say it'll house up to 5,000 illegal immigrants carrying out President Trump's mass deportation agenda. But now, FEMA, DHS, ICE, and Miami-Dade County are being sued by environmental groups trying to stop it.
They're trying to use the Everglades as a pretext just for the fact that they oppose immigration enforcement. I mean, let's be clear. Like, that's where you are on the far left. Now, they don't want the laws enforced at all.
The lawsuit claims that the federal government broke the law by skipping an environmental review required by the National Environmental Policy Act.
It's the law. You don't undertake a massive project like this without conducting an environmental review. Congress made that decision.
Court can order those agencies to go and actually look at the environmental consequences of the project, and also to offer a public process for all of the people who are really concerned about the impacts of this project.
This isn't the first time that this site has made headlines. Back in the 1970s, the same spot was supposed to become the world's largest airport, canceled because of environmental concerns. Only one runway was built, which is now used for pilot training.
The reason that you only have one is because Friends of the Everglades, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, thousands of Floridians banded together to stop development and to protect this area.
FEMA plans to spend $450 million a year at the new detention center. But environmentalists warn that the real cost will be to the Everglades and endangered wildlife that call it home.
A place that is really special to the state, it's essential to our drinking water supply, and to species that aren't found anywhere else in the world, like the Florida panther.
The government has spent over $20 billion to protect Florida's Everglades. Environmental groups tell me that Alligator Alcatraz will destroy that progress. Reporting in studio, Madison Adams, Gulf Coast.
We have some serious news right now. A New York Times report is shedding light on the systematic abuses within America's immigration detention system. Undocumented migrants sometimes have gone weeks without shower. They are not being provided necessary medical care for high blood pressure and more. Others have been forced to sleep on the ground. As of June 15th, there are 56,000 individuals in ICE custody in these detention facilities. That's more than the maximum amount that the detention facilities should be holding. At least 10 undocumented immigrants have died in ICE custody since the beginning of the year, including most recently a 49-year-old Canadian citizen who died in custody in a detention facility in Florida. And the kicker? Many of these people have never been charged with a crime, never been convicted of a crime. Some have lived in the United States for decades without any issue. America's immigration system is failing right before our eyes. And undocumented immigrants, some as young as just a few months old, are being punished because of it. Spread the word so more people know and follow along for more.
Shalom, Kohala, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, bishops of the Great Millstone, who the rule teach well. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Barakatham to the sincere believers, the Akim and Akwat out there listening, learning, keeping the faith and diligence of our Lord Yahushai. All right, so back in the news, and as you saw in those opening videos, Esau, pursuant to Revelation 12 and 12, as a matter of fact, we can go to it, is coming down with great wrath. See, because he knows he has a short time. He's coming down with these very harsh draconian decrees. Here we go, Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. See, so the devil, all right, this the physical counterpart of the spiritual being Satan upon the earth is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, he's the one bringing these draconian decrees. He's the one ripping families apart, you know, creating a alligator Alcatraz, all right, in which there will be no escape once he throws you into these. And that's not the only one. That's the most notable right now that everyone's talking about. But going back a few years, I remember brothers doing lessons, but going back a few years, about 23, I would say, when those migrants really started flooding the border heavy, that's when Esau started to rapidly construct, although he's been building for years, but around that time he accelerated the process. Around that time, Joe Biden, under that regime, started rapidly building detention centers all across the U.S. And why is this? Because the time is going to come where, as we see, you know, there's a lot of black swan, many false flag attacks going on, you know, pursuant to that first video, that these devils are going to use, and also foreign threats, all right? Sleeper cells are going to be activated. It's going to be a lot of chaos on American soil, to where this devil, by his laws and legislation and by brute force, he's going to justify himself in taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, all right, pursuant to this NWO, in which that's the whole goal of all of this, you know. But yeah, this is that great wrath, man. And these, pursuant to Isaiah 10:1, these unrighteous draconian decrees, okay? Isaiah 10 and verse 1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And that's Esau, Edom. All right, he's the one that is prescribing these grievous, unrighteous decrees, man. All right, because what he's doing is he's chipping away at the Constitution, to where eventually, when he's done, there will be no Bill of Rights. There will be no constitutional rights or amendments that you can go to court and sue him over. Ultimately, he's going to put you in so much fear, so much hell, to where you're basically going to cry out for the NWO. That's going to be the only option left. You see, and when you go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, because you heard in that video, to where these migrants, you know, in these centers, they're being treated horribly, you know, not being given showers, barely eating food, you know. No doubt there's all kinds of abuse going on. But what does the scripture say about Esau, Edom? All right, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 49. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. And that eagle there is key, because when you read the book of Obadiah, it says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. And of course, we know the whole book of Obadiah is addressed to one nation, and that's Esau, Edom. Okay, so this nation that is speaking of here in this verse, that will come from the end of the earth, you know, that will come from afar, swift as the eagle, that's referring to the Edomites, right? A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Yeah, Esau don't give a damn. Esau don't give a damn if you 70 years old, you know, elderly, or if you a baby, all right? Everybody is fair game with Esau, Edom. That's how this man get down. Because why? Ultimately, when you go to, what is that? So let's go Psalm 17, man. You know, because this devil, man, he's ultimately, he's out for blood. All right? Psalms 37. And we can start at the top. Psalms 37:1, a psalm of David. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Getting straight to the point, verse 7, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. All right, and throwing people in detention centers. You know, I was watching the elder Mwatazak earlier today, and he was bringing it out that what Esau has been doing is he's been rounding up migrants, you know, and he's been shackling them up, hands and feet tied, and basically throwing them into the ocean. All right, with no doubt they getting torn up by sharks and other sea creatures. All right, so that he can't be to blame. All right, but that's how this devil get down. Again, he's out for blood. Right, Esau, he don't regard the young, the old. All right, he's really out to, as Yahweh Shah said, you know, the thief cometh not before to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Right, that's what this man is all about. That's his MO. Psalm 17, Psalm 17, straight to the point. And 13, it says, arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. And see, right now, the Lord is sharpening his sword because we're in a time of judgment. All right, and the sword, which is the wicked, all right, Esau, Edom, the Lord is using him to bring judgment down upon the earth, all right, to come down heavy on these wicked people, man, in this time. All right, so as the scriptures say, judgment must start at the house of the Most High. All right, so you Jakes, you know what I'm saying, we've been seeing over the past month or two where Esau, he been going in heavy against you know, Northern Kingdom. All right, now he got his sights set on you know, the darker skin, you know, Jakes. All right, Southern Kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Okay, now you're going after the Haitians, you're going after the Jamaicans now, deporting them. All right, sending them to detention centers. All right, no doubt you're gonna have a lot of them Haitians and Jamaicans be sent to alligator Alcatraz. You see? So yeah, we're definitely in a time that you know, the Lord is again sharpening his sword. All right, and this is for us to be aware of this and also continue on and you know, serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, man, because we don't want none of this to come by us or our families. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to be caught up in the judgment that the Lord is bringing down. You know, we want to be given that the why, that mark of exemption. Psalms 5 and 6, thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. Leasing goes into lies, deceits. The Lord will abhor or hate the bloody and deceitful man, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right, and as we'll get into in these few articles, man, all right, that's what he's all about. So this right here, Trump's mega bill expands biometric surveillance, and you know, brothers were going into this, you know, when he pretty much announced this, that this is all a you know, Trojan horse, but it's all coming out now that as there's 940 pages in this bill. Who the hell is going to read 940 pages? And you know, that's how Esau do. Just like how he'll give you a contract, you know, and he'll tell you, oh, you sign here. But then there's the fine print, all right? Which is wicked as hell. You know, why the hell do you have fine print on a document, man? Everything should be able to be read straight up. But understanding how this man gets down, he works in deception, all right? He's more subtle than any beast of the field, all right? So this mega bill is really all about bringing in this NWO. It's really all about taking your rights away, which is what he's doing by orchestrating these black swan events on American soil, all right? Putting all these rumors out there, just having people confused and scared, not knowing what to do. So ultimately they can beg for Esau to give a solution, all right? It's going to come in the form of peace and safety, and then it's going to be sudden destruction, as it is written. All right, so this surveillance state It says, as debate intensifies in the U.S. over H.R. 1, otherwise known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, or the Triple B, Senate Republicans advanced the sweeping reconciliation package with a razor-thin 51-49 vote, with Senators Rand Paul and Tom Tillis joining Democrats in opposition. While its core structure remains consistent with the version passed by the House, particularly regarding immigration enforcement, the bill reflects an aggressive expansion of federal biometric surveillance infrastructure under the Trump administration's second term. And remember, when he first came into office, he said he wanted to implement a $500 billion AI infrastructure bill. All right, so all of that is included in this Triple B right here. Reading on, officially styled as a budget reconciliation package, the 940-page bill does much more than allocate dollars. Pay attention. It would codify a vision of the national security state where biometric surveillance, okay, now biometric goes into the measure of the body or measure of your life force, okay, which is why I think last month this man put a carbon tax out there in Hawaii for anybody that travels or uses like hotels or something like that. Now there's a tax applied to that, okay, the first in America, and it's going to spread to all the rest of the states, but he does it in these certain tourist destination spots, or LA, New York, those are like Chicago testing grounds for what they want to do with the rest of the country. All right, so there's a carbon tax coming. You already have a carbon footprint. Like some places you might order food or something, and they tell you, your carbon footprint is X number. You know what I'm saying? So this system is already being set up, and this again goes into his unrighteous decrees. So reading on, it would codify a vision of the national security state where biometric surveillance, AI, and immigration enforcement converge at unprecedented scale. See? Unprecedented. When you go into that word unprecedented, it goes into, check it out, never done or known before. Okay, so this, we're moving into an era. This man is moving at such breakneck speed to implement his agenda because remember, he has a 2030 agenda. So we're less than 5 years away from that goal being realized. So this is the point, because we're halfway through. This is the point where the squeeze is really about to be on. He's about to ramp up the pressure to another level. And all comfort that in this society very soon is going to be gone. You see? So he's doing it at an unprecedented scale. Look at this right here. At its core, H.R. 1, or the BBB, dedicates over $175 billion in immigration-related funding for fiscal year 2025 alone. Okay, which a lot of that money is going into these, raids and setting up these different militia groups and deputize and also these detention centers, you know what I'm saying? Which is by far the largest such allocation in U.S. history and represents a dramatic technology build-out. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, would receive nearly $30 billion through 2029, earmarked not only for personnel and deportation operations, but also for digital modernization, efforts that lean heavily on AI and biometric surveillance. You can't make this up. So we're moving into a literal police state, how they got it set up in China, where there's a camera. I think it's like 10 or 15 cameras for every one person in China. So there's a lot of damn cameras over there, man. This is how Esau want to make it over here. In this big, beautiful bill, this is what's in there. In those 940 pages. Okay, diabolical work. 5.2 billion with ICE share is dedicated to infrastructure modernization, including 2.5 billion specifically for AI systems, biometric data collection and data collection platforms, and digital case tracking. Right? So he tells you, this is to allocate funds for this, and that, but this is what's really inside this bill. Okay? Building these detention centers, pretty much telling states for 10 years that they're not allowed to regulate the use of AI. Okay? So, this is what it's all about. And ultimately, we know this is all leading to the MOTB. All right? Esau just needs the right crisis, okay, which he's currently in the midst of unleashing very soon, to where he's going to get people to, march in that direction. You see? Now, when you go here, check it out. Multiple bodies found with hands and feet tied in the Mediterranean Sea off Spain. And this is what the elder Mawatazak Bangad was bringing out in his lesson. Okay, to where, we'll get into it. But, Spanish authorities have launched an investigation after discovering multiple corpses in the Mediterranean Sea whose hands and feet had been tied, police said on Monday. All right, let's get the video.
Police in one of Spain's most popular tourist hotspots are investigating the gruesome find of bodies in the sea with their hands and feet tied up. At least 5 corpses have been recovered by the civil guard in the Balearic Sea off Majorca. They are believed to be migrants who had tried to reach the Spanish coastline via a dangerous crossing from Algeria, a journey which has claimed thousands of lives. Other bodies have been washing up on beaches, but these particular ones have been shackled, leading police to believe.
So you got bodies out there in Spain that's washing up on beaches, and they're shackled, hands and feet shackled. So clearly, this is not a coincidence. This is not just people offing themselves, because that's a narrative Esau love to use. Oh, they offed themselves and threw themselves into the water, man. Hell no, get out of here with all that, man. Okay? So what Esau's doing is he's snatching up migrants and he's murdering them. This is what's going on overseas, over there in Spain. People that are trying to flee their nation because of the instability that Esau caused, and that's why the scriptures refer to Esau more specifically through the war machine of America as what? The hammer of the whole earth. Because what they do is they go around the whole earth and they destabilize whatever nation doesn't want to play ball with them, so that then, the people end up having to leave, their nation, because now it's all out of order. It's not feasible to be there anymore. So they try to escape to somewhere more conducive to live. All right. But in that, Esau now can grab you up and pretty much do what he wants with you, because you don't have any pretty much right to life. You can't go to the court and say, oh, well, this and that. No. See, once you leave your nation and you out there on your own, you just trying to make it, and Esau catch you, that's it. And the scriptures speak about how this devil, how he, hides in the lurking places of the villages and, seeks to murder the poor. All right? Matter of fact, that's a spirit. Let's go to Psalms 140. All right? Because that's how this devil get down. You see? And this is why Esau has the greatest judgment prescribed to him out of all nations. All right, this is Psalms 140:1, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongue like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Selah. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purposed to overthrow my goings. And that's this devil, right? He's always setting up snares. He's always, seeking out new ways to destroy. Okay? Because he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. Let's continue.
Believe they had been murdered for some unknown reason. Police have opened an investigation to clarify the circumstances of the deaths. However, the investigations are almost impossible because the occupants of the boat are aware that they are in an irregular situation and do not report the abuses they suffer.
Exactly. They are in an irregular situation. They have no type of jurisdiction, no type of rights. They can't call nobody. So even though they know this is going on, they just keep quiet. They just keep it pushing, man. And Esau knows that, so he takes advantage of the situation.
the crosses from the Algerian coast. The discovery of these bodies has taken place over the last month, although the police have maintained total secrecy about the investigations. One of them was recovered May 18th around 5 p.m. A private Belgian-flagged vessel sailing in waters west of Formentera raised the alert after spotting a body floating in the sea. A few days later, another body appeared in similar circumstances, and they have been repeated several times over in the last few weeks. In total, at least 5 bodies have been found. All of them presumably belong to migrants who were traveling in a boat. In all cases, the procedure provided for cases of violent deaths has been activated. The corpses are examined by civil guard agents and forensic doctors who take DNA samples. Police in one...
And nothing is going to happen behind this, okay? Because you know Esau, he's not going to hold himself accountable. He never does, okay? It's Yahweh Bashmel Shai that's going to have to hold these devils accountable, man. Because look at all the hell that they're causing within the earth, but you let them tell it, they'll tell you that Jake is the problem, right? Which Jake is a problem. Let's not get it twisted now. Jake is a problem. You know, 2/3 of our people do need to be dealt with. But see, what Jake do in the hood amongst their own people, amongst their own community, Esau, he's doing that on a global scale. Esau, he destabilizes governments. He unalives people by the millions, billions, whether it's directly through war or indirectly through biological warfare, you know, putting sanctions on your nation, cutting off the food supply, you know, doing T attacks in your country. That, you know, that these are the wiles of the devil. That's how you get down, right? Man, it's crazy. German woman. And this is another thing that's coming down the pipe as well. All right. Given that Esau, he's setting up a surveillance state, that's going to come with the famine of the word. All right. In which your constitutional right to freedom of speech, that's going to be no more very soon. All right. Which should also tell you that this ministry is about to come to an end as well. All right. Because he's getting ready to bring these things forth. And it's already been happening in the EU. Right, in different places around the earth, you know, like I remember a few years back, Scotland, they were locking people up for criticizing government policies, and you know, some places in Ireland as well. You know what I'm saying? So these things are already happening overseas, man. But the reason why it hasn't been so profound in America yet is because of what? The Constitution, which they're actively stripping that away from these people, and it's crazy enough. These people know that their rights are being taken away, and they ain't doing nothing about it. They just letting it happen. Okay? So as the elder Malcolm says, you know, which is a great analogy, you know, this ain't the home of you know, the free and the brave. You know, this is the home of bend over and take it. Right? Which that's what these people do. Okay? They just bend over and take it, man. Like whatever these elites bring down the pipe, these people, they just bend over and take it. All right? So these people have no fight left in them, right? They're worn out. And that's all by design. So getting into this, German woman given harsher sentence than convicted rapist for calling him disgraceful rapist pig. All right? And this is in Germany. A German woman was handed down a harsher sentence than a convicted rapist after she called him a disgraceful rapist pig. Maja R., 20, was jailed for a weekend after she was found guilty of defaming the man who was one of 9 attackers who gang raped a 15-year-old girl in Hamburg Park 4 years earlier, according to reports. The man had only been given a suspended sentence and served no time in prison due to his age, right? Maja R. reportedly did not know the rapist, but was one of at least 140 people who sent him disparaging messages via WhatsApp after his name and number were leaked on Snapchat. Right? So over there in Germany, they're locking people up. And not only for stuff like this, but also for speaking against the government, for speaking against government policies, man. And we know that Europe, right, which is really Western Asia, but, you know, over there in Europe, they're heavily all right, under that WEF influence, okay? So whatever the WEF tells them to do, those leaders over there, they hop to it. All right, so this woman here in Germany, and there was another woman as well, you know, she was jailed for actually speaking out against the government. In Europe, I think it was in France, she was in. All right, so these things are already happening. So this should let you know what times that we're in. Things are getting very, very dangerous, man. Things are getting very hot in the earth. Okay? And when you go to Isaiah 29, okay, it speaks about, you know, making a man offender for a word. Isaiah 29 and let's start at verse 20. Isaiah 29 and 20. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. You see? So Esau, Edom, he's making a man an offender for a word. Okay, you're not going to be able to speak out against what he's doing. Even though what he's doing is wicked as hell, everybody can see it. You're not going to be able to say that unless you want to go to jail or face some harsh, draconian punishment. All right, such as having your hands and feet shackled, thrown into shark-infested or alligator-infested waters. All right, being beaten to death, tortured. All right, these are the things that are coming down the pipe. Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh Bashmel Shai. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. And this is why the scriptures say to seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Okay, and the Lord can be found now by inquiring of his prophets. Okay, the prophets are on the scene to give you the understanding, man, to get you to repent. But if you don't take advantage of the word while it's being given out freely now, when the day comes when, you know, brothers are not able to be on the streets no more, brothers are not able to do these sit-down lessons and things of that nature, then guess what? That's when the real famine of the word is going to come into effect. And that's when people are going to seek to know what's going on, but it's going to be too late. All right, because you didn't take advantage of the word while it was freely available. All right, that's why it says in Ecclesiastes 12 to what? Seek ye the Lord in the days of thy youth while the evil days come not. All right, we're in the midst of the evil days, man, so time is very short. Right, this ain't the time to be lackadaisical and playing around and thinking that you got all this time in the world, man. Like this, you know, the fashion of this world is passing away very, very quickly. And we see these things by the events that are happening. All right. So, with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying through the Rakah Kadash. In closing, call halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kadash. And until next time, Lord willing, shalom to the elect. Kom Yasha Allah, wa Baba Bo. Shalom on to the next one.